The darkness of space stretched endlessly outside the observation deck of the ISS Vanguard. Samantha Dawson adjusted her headset and leaned closer to her communications console. For the past 6 hours, she had been monitoring a strange signal that appeared intermittently on her equipment. Most of her colleagues had dismissed it as cosmic background radiation, but something about its pattern caught her attention. "Still chasing ghosts, Sam?" Eric Miller floated into the communications hub, pushing himself gracefully between the workstations. His friendly smile took the edge off his words. "It's not random," Samantha replied, not taking her eyes off the screen. "Look at this frequency pattern. It repeats too precisely to be natural." Eric hovered behind her chair, his interest piqued despite his initial skepticism. He had worked with Samantha for 3 years now, and her instincts about unusual signals had proven correct more often than not. "Can you isolate it?" he asked, reaching for the secondary control panel. "I've been trying. It's encrypted in a way I've never seen before." Samantha brushed a strand of brown hair from her face. "But I think I'm getting close." The Vanguard was humanity's most advanced deep space research vessel, positioned at the edge of the solar system. Its primary mission was to study the boundary where solar winds met interstellar space, but it also served as an early warning system for Earth. Any signals or objects approaching the solar system would be detected by the Vanguard first. For the next 2 hours, Samantha and Eric worked together in comfortable silence, attempting to decode the mysterious transmission. The ship hummed softly around them, life support systems creating a gentle background noise that most crew members no longer noticed after a few weeks aboard. "Wait." Samantha suddenly straightened in her chair. "I think I've got something." On her screen, a sequence of symbols appeared, unlike any human language or code, but beneath them numbers began to form. Coordinates. "Eric, are these what I think they are?" She pointed to the screen. Eric's eyes widened as he examined the data. "Interstellar coordinates. About 12 light-years from here." He tapped rapidly on his control panel. "And a time signature. This is an invitation to a meeting." "A meeting? Out there?" Samantha felt a chill run down her spine. Who would be meeting in empty space? Not empty, apparently. Eric overlaid the coordinates with the ship's star charts. "There's nothing in our database at this location, but the message definitely points there." As they continued to work on the decryption, more information emerged. The signal contained complex security protocols, access codes, and what appeared to be agenda items, all encoded in a way that suggested it was never meant for human eyes. "We need to tell Captain Ward," Samantha said finally, saving all their findings to a secure drive. Captain Alan Ward was not easily impressed or alarmed. With 25 years of service in the United Space Command, he had seen his share of unusual phenomena. But as he studied the information Samantha and Eric presented, in his quarters his typically calm expression gave way to visible concern. "You're telling me this transmission contains details about a secret meeting, not meant for us but that somehow involves Earth?" he asked, his voice steady despite the implications. "Yes, sir," Samantha replied. As we decrypted more of the message, we found references to multiple species and something called the Galactic Council. They mention Earth specifically in what looks like an agenda item. Eric pulled up a holographic display showing the partial translation. "This section here, Captain. It translates roughly to Assessment of Sol 3 Containment Options. Sol 3 being Earth in their naming system." Captain Ward's brow furrowed deeply. "Containment?" "Yes, sir. And this part mentions a vote scheduled during the meeting." Samantha pointed to another section of text. "We're still working on the full context, but the words associated with Earth include unpredictable and potentially dangerous." The captain stood and paced the small confines of his quarters, hands clasped behind his back. The implications were enormous. Not only confirmation of intelligent alien life, but evidence of an organized interstellar community that had been watching Earth. And now they were meeting to discuss some kind of action regarding humanity. "How certain are you about this translation?" he asked. "The language structure is unlike anything in our databases, sir," Eric admitted. "But the mathematical components, The coordinates, time signatures, security protocols, those were quite confident about. They follow universal principles. Captain Ward nodded slowly. He trusted his crew, especially these two officers who had proven themselves repeatedly during their tour on the Vanguard. Continue your work on the translation. I need to contact Earth immediately. He moved to his secure communication terminal. This goes no further than this room for now. I don't want to cause panic among the crew. While the captain prepared his report for United Space Command headquarters, Samantha and Eric returned to the communications hub to continue their work. The more they decoded, the clearer the picture became, and the more alarming. The meeting is scheduled for 3 days from now, Samantha said quietly as another section of code revealed itself. And look at this part. 12 representatives from different worlds. A council of 12 making decisions about us without our knowledge, Eric muttered. I don't like the sound of that. Before they could discuss further, their consoles lit up with a priority message from Captain Ward. Report to my quarters. Immediately. When they arrived, they found the captain looking grimmer than before. On his screen was the seal of the United Space Command High Council, Earth's highest military authority for space operations. I've received our orders, he said, without preamble. We are to investigate this meeting. Samantha felt her heart rate quicken. Sir, the security codes you extracted should allow us to approach undetected. We're to gather intelligence about this council and their intentions toward Earth. He looked at each of them steadily. Command is assembling a small team. The three of us plus Dr. Olivia Bennett from Xenobiology. Eric swallowed hard. We're going to infiltrate an alien council meeting? Those are our orders. Captain Ward's voice was firm. Humanity needs to know what's being planned. If there's any threat to Earth, we need advance warning. Samantha felt a mix of fear and excitement rush through her. When she had joined the space program, she had hoped to make first contact someday, but not like this. Not by spying on a secret meeting where humanity's fate might be decided. When do we leave, sir? She asked. Immediately. We'll take the stealth vessel USS Horizon. It's being prepared as we speak. Captain Ward stood taller, his decision made. We have less than 70 hours to reach the coordinates and find a way inside without being detected. As Samantha left, to prepare for the mission, she glanced out at the stars through the corridor viewport. Somewhere out there, beings from across the galaxy were gathering to discuss humanity's future. And now, ready or not, humanity would have representatives at that table, even if they had to hide in the shadows to be there. The USS Horizon cut silently through the darkness of space, its special stealth systems making it nearly invisible to sensors. Inside the ship, the 4-person crew worked with focused intensity. They had traveled for almost 3 days, pushing the small vessel to its limits to reach the coordinates found in the alien transmission. Approaching the target area now, Eric announced from the pilot's seat. His hands moved skillfully over the controls as he slowed their approach. Captain Ward stood behind him, eyes fixed on the main view screen. Any signs of activity? Nothing yet, sir, Samantha replied from the communication station. She had barely slept during the journey, spending most of her time refining their translation of the alien message and trying to learn more about the security protocols they would need to use. Dr. Olivia Bennett floated toward the front of the cabin. As the team's xenobiologist, she had been studying what little information they had about potential alien biology. Based on the atmospheric requirements in the transmission, we should expect to encounter at least 6 different species with various biological needs. The captain nodded, his expression serious. Remember, our mission is observation only. We get in, gather intelligence about their intentions toward Earth, and get out without being detected. As they continued forward, the emptiness of space suddenly gave way to an unexpected sight. Hidden within a dense asteroid field was a massive space station. It gleamed faintly in the light of a distant star, its design unlike anything humans had created. The structure appeared to be composed of interconnected rings that slowly rotated around a central hub. That's incredible, Samantha whispered, momentarily forgetting her professional demeanor. Eric let out a low whistle. No wonder our telescopes never spotted it. The asteroid field provides perfect cover from Earth's direction, And look there, Doctor. Bennett pointed to several objects moving near the station. Ships, at least 7 different designs. Captain Ward leaned forward, studying the scene carefully. They're docking. The meeting participants must be arriving. The team watched as vessels of various shapes and sizes approached the station. Some were sleek and streamlined, while others appeared bulky and functional. Each ship docked at different points around the station's rings. We need to find a way in, the captain said. Eric, can you identify a maintenance or secondary docking area? Something less monitored than those main ports. Eric scanned the station carefully. There, he said after several minutes. That looks like a service bay on the lower ring. Minimal activity, and I'm not detecting many security measures. Take us in slowly. Samantha, prepare to transmit the security codes at my command. The Horizon moved cautiously toward the station, using the surrounding asteroids for additional cover. As they approached the service bay, Captain Ward gave the order, and Samantha sent the intercepted access codes. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then, silently, a set of large doors began to slide open. It worked, Samantha said, relief evident in her voice. Don't celebrate yet, the captain cautioned. We're just getting started. Eric carefully piloted the ship into the bay, which was dimly lit and appeared to be used for cargo and maintenance vessels. Once inside, the doors closed behind them, and automated systems began to pressurize the chamber. Atmosphere readings? Captain Ward asked. Dr. Bennett checked her instruments. Breathable, but with higher oxygen content than Earth standard. It won't harm us, but we might feel slightly lightheaded at first. The team prepared to leave their ship, checking their equipment one last time. Each wore a standard gray environmental suit that could protect them if needed, but more importantly might help them blend in among the station's diverse inhabitants. They carried minimal weapons, small stunners only, and communication devices that would allow them to stay in contact with each other and the ship. Remember, Captain Ward said as they gathered by the airlock, we split into 2 teams once we're inside. Samantha and Eric will locate the communication hub and gather what information they can about the council members and any decisions already made. Dr. Bennett and I will find the main council chamber and observe the proceedings. The others nodded, their faces showing a mixture of determination and apprehension. If anything goes wrong, return to the ship immediately. The mission is important, but your lives are more important. With final checks complete, they exited the Horizon. The service bay was larger than it had appeared from outside, with various maintenance equipment and small transport vehicles stored around its perimeter. The air had a slightly sweet smell that none of them could identify. They approached a doorway at the far end of the bay, Samantha in the lead with the decoded access protocols ready. As they reached it, she noticed a scanning device beside the door. Wait, she whispered, pulling back. I think it's a biometric scanner. Dr. Bennett moved forward to examine it. You're right. It appears to be designed to read biological signatures. If we try to use it, it would immediately identify us as human. Captain Ward finished her thought. Eric frowned. The security codes got us into the bay, but they won't get us past internal security. The team stepped back to consider their options. Returning to the ship without completing their mission wasn't acceptable, but they couldn't risk triggering alarms throughout the station either. After a moment, Eric spoke up. I might be able to create a diversion. If I can access one of these maintenance panels, I could trigger an alert in another section of the station. That might draw security away temporarily. Captain Ward considered this. It's risky, but I don't see many alternatives. Do it. Eric moved to a nearby panel and began to work, connecting a small device to its interface. The others waited tensely, aware that every moment increased their chances of discovery. Got it, Eric said after several minutes. I've created what looks like an environmental failure in a storage section on the far side of the station. Security should respond to that first. Almost immediately, they heard a faint alarm sound from somewhere deeper in the station. Moments later, the door they had been examining slid open as 2 figures rushed past, heading toward another exit from the bay. The beings moved so quickly that the humans could only glimpse their tall, slender forms and iridescent skin. Now's our chance, Captain Ward said quietly. Let's move. The team slipped through the door and found themselves in a wide corridor with smooth, curved walls that glowed with soft light. The passage branched in 3 directions. This is where we separate, the captain said. Stay in communication, stay hidden, and remember the mission. Samantha and Eric nodded before turning left, heading in the direction they believed would lead toward the station's communication center. Captain Ward and Dr. Bennett took the right passage, hoping it would eventually lead them to the council chamber. As they parted ways, Samantha felt her heart pounding. They were now truly in unknown territory, the first humans to set foot in what appeared to be a galactic meeting place. And somewhere on this station, 12 alien representatives were preparing to decide humanity's fate. Captain Ward and Dr. Bennett moved carefully through the curved corridors of the alien station. They passed several intersections, always choosing paths that seemed to lead toward the center. The station was alive with activity. Twice they had to duck into side passages to avoid beings moving through the hallways. The diversity is amazing, Dr. Bennett whispered after they narrowly avoided a group of short, wide aliens with multiple limbs. I've counted at least 8 distinct species already. Captain Ward nodded, but kept his focus on their route. And none of them know humans exist, yet they're meeting to decide our future. They continued forward, following markings on the walls that seemed to indicate direction. The captain had a soldier's instinct for navigation, and he sensed they were getting closer to something important. The corridors were becoming wider and more ornate, with glowing patterns decorating the walls. Look, Dr. Bennett pointed ahead. That entrance is larger than the others, and those symbols match some from the transmission. They might indicate importance or authority. They approached cautiously. The doorway was at least 3 times taller than a human and flanked by what appeared to be security devices. They could hear voices from within, a mixture of sounds, some beyond the range of human hearing. We can't go through the main entrance, Captain Ward said. Let's look for another way. They circled the large chamber, eventually discovering a small maintenance passage that ran alongside it. At one point, the passage had a ventilation grill that looked into the council chamber. The captain carefully removed it, creating an observation point. What they saw left them speechless. The chamber was circular, with tiered seating surrounding a central platform. Around this platform sat 12 distinct beings, each different from the others. Some were vaguely humanoid, while others had forms that defied human classification. One appeared to be made of shifting light patterns, while another was a massive shape that seemed more plant than animal. The Council of 12, Dr. Bennett breathed, just as the transmission indicated. Standing at the center of the platform was a tall being with luminescent skin that pulsed with changing colors. When it spoke, its voice was somehow both deep and high at once, creating an unsettling harmony. I, Sovereign Zenith, call this emergency session to order, the being announced. We face a situation requiring immediate attention. Meanwhile, Samantha and Eric had found their way to what appeared to be a secondary communications hub. The room was currently empty, with control panels lining the walls and holographic displays floating in the center. Perfect, Eric said, examining the alien technology. This looks like a monitoring station. If I can access their network. He connected a small device to one of the panels. It was designed to translate data protocols, something the research team on the Vanguard had created based on the intercepted transmission. We need to hurry, Samantha urged, keeping watch at the door. Someone could come back any moment. Eric nodded, his fingers moving quickly over his device. I'm in. They have an incredible amount of data flowing through here. He paused, his eyes widening. Sam, look at this. She moved closer to see what he had found. On the screen before them was what appeared to be a classification system. Species were categorized by various criteria: technological advancement, biological composition, interstellar capability, and something translated as stability factor. There, Eric pointed. That's us, Sol 3, Earth. The entry for Earth was marked with symbols that their device translated as pre-contact and volatile species with extinction potential. Extinction potential? Samantha felt cold. What does That mean? Eric pulled up more information. It seems to be a designation for species likely to either destroy themselves or become threats to others if they advance too quickly. He scrolled through more data. There's a whole history here. They've been watching Earth for centuries, monitoring our development. Back in the council chamber, the discussion had begun in earnest. Captain Ward and Dr. Bennett listened intently, their translation devices struggling to keep up with the various alien languages. The Sol 3 species has advanced more rapidly than predicted, said a being with 4 arms and reflective skin. Their technological progress in the last century exceeds all models. They now possess nuclear capabilities and primitive space travel, yet they continue to wage war among themselves, added another council member, this one appearing as a swirling mass of tiny particles. Their history is marked by constant conflict. The plant-like being moved slightly, creating a rustling sound. This is not unusual for young species. Many of us had similar violent beginnings. But few developed weapons of mass destruction before achieving unity, countered another. The humans are dangerously unpredictable. Captain Ward felt his jaw tighten. These beings were discussing humanity like scientists discussing bacteria in a petri dish. Sovereign Zenith raised a long limb for silence. We have 3 options before us. First, continued observation with no intervention. Second, implementation of a containment field around their solar system until they either destroy themselves or achieve stability. Third, direct contact to guide their development. In the communications hub, Samantha and Eric had discovered archives of the Council's previous decisions regarding other species. Look at this, Samantha said, pointing to one file. A species called the Viridians. The Council placed a containment field around their star system 300 years ago. They couldn't leave their solar system. Any ship that tried simply failed at the boundary. And here, Eric added, the Tauri species. The Council made direct contact with them early in their development. They're now members of the Galactic community but seem to be dependent on Council technology. Neither option sounds good for Earth, Samantha said grimly. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft beep from their communicators, a signal from Captain Ward. They quickly activated the secure channel. We've found the council chamber, the captain's voice came through quietly. They're discussing Earth now and preparing to vote on 3 options. Continue watching us, contain us, or make contact. Sir, we've found their archives, Samantha replied. They've classified Earth as a volatile species with extinction potential. They've contained other worlds before, using some kind of barrier technology. There was a pause before the captain responded. Keep gathering data. We need to know everything. We can about their capabilities and intentions. As their communication ended, Eric suddenly tensed. Someone's coming. They quickly disconnected their device and looked for a hiding place, but the room offered little cover. The door slid open, revealing a tall, thin alien with multifaceted eyes. It froze upon seeing the humans, its eyes rapidly changing color. Before either side could react, alarms began blaring throughout the station. A voice echoed through the corridors in multiple languages, one of which their translators interpreted. Security breach detected. Unknown biological signatures in sectors 7 and 12. All security personnel respond immediately. In the maintenance passage by the council chamber, Captain Ward and Dr. Bennett heard the alarms with dismay. They've found us, the captain said. We need to move. As they began to retreat, Dr. Bennett accidentally knocked against the wall, causing a panel to fall with a loud clang. Inside the chamber, all conversations stopped as dozens of alien eyes turned toward the source of the noise. Captain Ward made an instant decision. Plan B, he said to Dr. Bennett. If we can't hide, we face them directly. With that, he pushed open a service door and stepped directly into the council chamber, Dr. Bennett following close behind. The assembled aliens stared in shock at the 2 humans who had appeared in their supposedly secure meeting. Greetings, Captain Ward said, his voice steady despite the circumstances. We are representatives of Earth, and we believe we should have a say in any decisions regarding our planet's future. Complete silence filled the council chamber. The 12 alien representatives stared at Captain Ward and Dr. Bennett with expressions that, despite their foreign features, clearly showed shock. Security alarms continued to blare throughout the station. Sovereign Zenith was the first to recover. The tall being's skin pulsed with rapid color changes, from calm blue to alarmed orange. "Humans," Zenith said, the words sounding strange in the alien voice. "You have breached our secure facility. How did you find this place?" Captain Ward stood tall, his years of military training evident in his steady posture. "We intercepted your transmission about this meeting. A meeting where you plan to decide the fate of our planet without our knowledge or consent." Murmurs and clicks spread among the council members. One being, with features like polished stone, rose from its seat. "This is unprecedented. No species has ever discovered the council before being officially contacted," it said, voice rumbling like distant thunder. Another counselor, smaller with 6 limbs and gleaming eyes, moved forward aggressively. "They must be contained immediately. This breach proves their dangerous unpredictability." Dr. Bennett stepped forward, her scientific training overcoming her fear. "We came only to observe and understand. If we hadn't discovered your plans, you would have made decisions affecting billions of lives without our input." At that moment, the chamber doors slid open. A group of security beings entered, surrounding Samantha and Eric, who had clearly been captured. The security team, tall figures with metallic skin, guided them forward with weapons that emitted a soft humming sound. "We found these two in Communication Center 12, reported one of the security beings. "They were accessing restricted archives." Captain Ward felt relief seeing his crew members alive, though captured. Now the entire human team was together, facing the council directly. Sovereign Zenith moved to the center of the chamber, towering over the humans. "You have shown remarkable resourcefulness, breaking our security codes, infiltrating this station, accessing our secure files. These are not small achievements." "And yet," added the stone-like counselor, "they did all this not to attack but to observe." "Interesting." The atmosphere in the room shifted slightly. Some council members still showed signs of alarm or anger, but others displayed what might have been curiosity or even reluctant respect. "Since you are here," Zenith continued, "perhaps you would like to address the council directly. What would Earth's representatives say about our concerns?" Captain Ward exchanged glances with his crew. This was unexpected, a chance to speak for humanity. He stepped forward, clear-eyed and determined. "Members of the council, I am Captain Alan Ward of Earth's United Space Command. We came here today because we discovered your secret deliberations about our future. I must first object to your methods. No fair governing body should decide the fate of a civilization without their knowledge or representation." He paused, noting how several council members shifted uncomfortably. "You've classified us as volatile and dangerous. You're not entirely wrong. Humans have a complex history filled with both conflict and cooperation. We've made terrible mistakes and committed acts of destruction. But that is not the complete picture of who we are." Dr. Bennett moved to stand beside him. "I am Dr. Olivia Bennett, a xenobiologist. My entire career is dedicated to understanding and respecting life in all its forms. Humanity has produced millions like me. Scientists, healers, artists, and builders who seek to create rather than destroy." The council remained silent, listening intently. Samantha spoke next, despite the security beings around her. "You've been watching us for centuries, but only seeing part of who we are. For every war in our history, there have been countless acts of courage, sacrifice, and kindness. We've composed symphonies, built wonders, cured diseases, and reached for the stars, all while knowing we might be alone in the universe." Eric nodded in agreement. "And we've done it without guidance or help from advanced civilizations. Every step forward has been our own achievement, through our own efforts." The plant-like council member rustled thoughtfully. "Your point is taken, humans. But your rapid technological advancement, particularly in weapons, creates risk not just for yourselves, but potentially for others." "We recognize that risk," Captain Ward acknowledged. "We struggle with it daily. But containment is not the answer. Isolation will not help us grow beyond our flaws. What would you propose instead? Asked Zenith. Open dialogue. Fair exchange. If you have concerns about our development, share them directly. Offer guidance if you wish, but as equals, not as jailers or judges. The chamber erupted in multiple conversations, the council members discussing among themselves in various languages. Captain Ward and his team stood firm, waiting. Security beings remained positioned around them, weapons ready. Finally, Sovereign Zenith raised a limb for silence. This situation is unprecedented. The council must deliberate on this new development. You have given us much to consider. And while we deliberate, said the six-limbed counselor who had earlier called for containment, what shall we do with these humans? They have violated our most sacred protocols. They should remain here as guests, said another counselor, this one appearing as constantly shifting geometric patterns. Their presence changes everything. The containment vote cannot proceed as planned. I agree, added the stone-like being. This incident requires full reassessment of our approach to Sol 3. Zenith nodded slowly. The humans will be held comfortably, but securely while we discuss. This council will reconvene in 6 standard units to reach a decision. With that, the session was adjourned. The security beings guided Captain Ward and his team from the chamber, not roughly but firmly. They were led through several corridors to a large room with simple furnishings, the door sealed behind them with an audible lock engaging. Well, Eric said, breaking the tense silence. That could have gone worse. Samantha dropped onto a seat that resembled a low bench. Do you think we made any difference? Captain Ward looked around the room, noting the observation panels that likely allowed the aliens to monitor them. We've achieved our primary mission. We know their intentions and capabilities. We've also forced them to acknowledge our existence and right to be heard. Some of them seemed receptive, Dr. Bennett observed, particularly the stone one and the plant-like being. Others were clearly alarmed by our presence. It's the vote that matters now, the captain said quietly. They're reconsidering their options, which gives Earth a chance. Samantha looked up suddenly. Captain, before we were captured, we found something important in their archives. The Council has been observing and guiding developing civilizations for thousands of years. Not always successfully, Eric added. Some species they contacted directly became dependent on Council technology and never developed independently. Others they contained eventually stagnated. Captain Ward's expression grew more determined. Then we need to convince them that humanity deserves a different approach. When they return, we need to be ready to present our case more strongly. Dr. Bennett nodded. We need to emphasize our resilience and adaptability. Those seem to be qualities they didn't anticipate. As they discussed their strategy, none of them noticed the small, almost invisible being that hovered near the ceiling of their room. It was not a security device, but a living entity, one of the council members who could change size and density at will. It listened to the humans with great interest, particularly to their discussion of independence and self-determination, concepts that, in the being's long memory, were surprisingly rare among emerging species. 6 hours passed slowly for the human team. They spent the time reviewing what they had learned about the council and planning what they would say when called back. The room they were held in was comfortable but clearly designed for beings different from humans. The seats were oddly shaped, and the lighting pulsed in a pattern that was slightly disorienting. Do you think they've reached a decision? Samantha asked, looking at the sealed door for the 100th time. Captain Ward shook his head. Hard to tell. Their concept of time might be different from ours. Based on the archives, Eric added, some species represented here live for thousands of years. 6 hours might seem like nothing to them. Dr. Bennett had been quiet for some time, deep in thought. She finally spoke up. I've been thinking about their classification system. They labeled us as volatile with extinction potential. But what if that's not entirely negative from their perspective? The others looked at her with interest. What do you mean? Captain Ward asked. Species that never face challenges or threats might develop differently. Our history of overcoming difficulties, of facing possible extinction and surviving anyway, has shaped us, made us adaptable in ways these long-lived, stable species might not understand. Before anyone could respond, the door slid open. Two of the metallic security beings stood in the entrance. "The Council requests your presence," one of them announced in a flat, translated voice. The team exchanged glances before following their escorts back through the station's corridors. They noticed more alien beings watching them with obvious curiosity as they passed. News of their presence had clearly spread throughout the station. When they entered the council chamber, they found it rearranged. The 12 representatives now sat in a semicircle, with 4 empty seats placed opposite them. Sovereign Zenith gestured for the humans to take these seats. "We have deliberated extensively on this unprecedented situation," Zenith began once. They were seated. "Never before has a pre-contact species discovered this council or confronted us as you have done." The stone-like counselor spoke next. "Some see this as proof of your dangerous unpredictability. Others, myself included, see it as evidence of your species' remarkable resourcefulness." Captain Ward nodded respectfully but remained silent, waiting for them to continue. "We have reviewed your history more thoroughly," said another counselor, the one made of shifting geometric patterns. "Your conflicts are concerning, but your resilience is noteworthy. Few species have faced so many self-created threats and survived." "The containment proposal has been withdrawn," Zenith announced. This statement caused visible surprise among some council members, suggesting the decision had not been unanimous. Relief washed over the human team, though they tried not to show it too openly. "Instead," Zenith continued, "we offer a modified proposal. Earth will be granted observer status with the Council. Your representatives will be permitted to attend proceedings that concern your solar system or general galactic matters." "Observer status?" Captain Ward asked. "What exactly does that mean?" "You would not have voting rights yet," explained the plant-like counselor, "but you would have access to certain knowledge and technologies. You would also be protected under council laws against interference or aggression from other species." "And, in return?" Dr. Bennett asked, sensing there must be conditions. "In return, Earth would agree to certain limitations on weapon development beyond your solar system, and would allow council observers to maintain a presence near Earth." Captain Ward frowned slightly. "What kind of presence?" "A small station, similar to this one but much smaller, in orbit around your outer planets," Zenith answered. "It would serve as both an embassy and monitoring facility." The captain considered this carefully. "I don't have the authority to accept such terms on behalf of all Earth. That would require agreement from our global leadership." "We understand," Zenith replied. "You would return to Earth with our proposal." Samantha leaned forward. "May I ask a question?" When Zenith nodded, she continued. "The archives showed that other species given observer status eventually gained full membership. Is that possibility open to Earth?" The council members exchanged looks that the humans couldn't interpret. Finally, the geometrically patterned counselor answered, "It is. Though the process typically takes decades or even centuries. Full membership requires demonstrated stability and adherence to council principles." Captain Ward saw an opportunity and took to request one modification to your proposal. The council shifted, some members showing signs of surprise or displeasure at this boldness. "You may state your request," Zenith said evenly. "If you wish to observe us, then we should be allowed to observe you in return. Equal exchange of observers and information. We cannot agree to be studied without the right to study in return." Murmurs spread through the council. The 6-limbed counselor who had earlier demanded their containment spoke sharply. "Unacceptable. They are barely space-capable. To give them equal observation rights would be unprecedented." "Yet they found us when we believed ourselves hidden," countered the stone-like being. "Perhaps unprecedented is exactly what this situation requires." The debate continued for several minutes in multiple languages, some too complex for the humans' translation devices to interpret. Finally, Zenith raised a limb for silence. "Captain Ward, your request shows the very boldness that concerns some of us. However, it also shows a commitment to fairness that we must respect. Zenith paused, looking at each council member before continuing. Modified terms are accepted. Equal observation rights, with technical specifications to be determined later. The captain nodded, satisfied. It wasn't a perfect arrangement, but it was fair, and far better than containment. When you return to Earth, Zenith said, you will carry full details of our proposal. Your leaders will have one standard cycle to respond. We recognize this is a historic moment for your species, and for yours, Dr. Bennett added quietly. As the meeting concluded, the small invisible counselor who had been observing the humans in their holding room approached Zenith privately. They are unlike others we have encountered, it said in a language no human could understand. Their insistence on equality even when faced with vastly superior technology is remarkable. Zenith's skin rippled with colors of agreement. Indeed, they may yet surprise us further. 2 days later, the USS Horizon departed from the station, carrying the human team and the Council's formal proposal. The journey back to Earth was filled with intense discussions about what they had learned and how Earth's leaders might respond. It's going to change everything, Samantha said as they approached their home solar system. Humanity has always wondered if we're alone in the universe. Now we know we're not only not alone, we're being invited to join a galactic community. Captain Ward looked out at the stars, his expression thoughtful. On their terms initially, but we've already shown we can change those terms. Do you think Earth will accept the proposal? Eric asked. I think they'll have to, Dr. Bennett replied. The alternative is to pretend we never discovered the Council, which would leave Earth vulnerable and uninformed. Knowledge is too valuable to reject. As the blue-green sphere of Earth came into view, Captain Ward felt the weight of their mission. They carried information that would forever change humanity's understanding of their place in the universe. No longer alone, no longer unseen, but recognized, even if reluctantly, as worthy of a place at the table. Send the approach signal, he ordered Eric. Tell them we're coming home with a message from the stars.